Hey, welcome to Sketch Along number 2. So today I am sketching a kind of plant pot. And right now I'm working on the outline as usual to kind of get the basic shape. And something I want you to notice is that how I'm even kind of sketching, I'm not just doing this long continuous line as if I were just doing an outline or writing. You can see I'm doing a series of kind of smaller lines, kind of. And then once I get the shape kind of what I want, then I might go over it with more of just like a straight, solid, even line. And right now I'm just trying to get the basic kind of shape. So right now I'm working on kind of the bottom part of the pot. It's not vertical, so it's kind of not in view again of the camera, but I have it kind of laying on its side at a little bit of an angle. So that means the bottom part, I'm trying to really kind of capture kind of the shape of that. It's not a perfect circle. It's going to be kind of a little bit of an oval kind of. So I'm working on that. Okay, so there you can see the actual pot I'm using as my model.
So that looks a little bit.
I'm still looking at it, trying to make kind of some corrections to the shape. And it's so important to do this during kind of like the draft, the rough draft, the outline stage. Because I've done it before in the past where you go, you shade it in, and then you look and you notice, hey, this isn't the right length, this isn't the right shape, it doesn't look right. And so then you have to erase all that great shading you did and then fix it and then try to replicate what you did. And that's so frustrating, at least for me. So I find in this stage, like right now, where I'm at in this video, this is the stage to make corrections, be sure the proportions are correct, and all that stuff. And I'm not doing any fancy measurements. You can. But again, this is the purpose of this video and the other sketch along videos. It's just for the average person who just likes to draw, likes to sketch, you know, how you can just do it daily. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have any fancy tools. All you need is a pencil and some type of, paper, and you can sketch. So now what I am doing is I'm kind of using kind of a lighter kind of graphite pencil, and I'm now kind of shading in the pot so I can kind of see the dimensions. So now I'm kind of using my blendy pen to kind of blend it. And the reason why a blendy pen, or you can use your finger, is so important is it makes it look smooth. Now some things, it depends what you're sketching, like maybe wood or something, you would want that to have more of a textured look. But you know, when you're sketching, you have like the pencil lines kind of. The blendy pen, or if you use your finger, kind of blends it together. So it has almost kind of a kind of oil painting look. It looks really kind of smooth, and I personally love that. When I first started drawing, I didn't do that. It just had kind of like this kind of textured look, which still looks good, but I personally prefer a very smooth kind of almost oil painting quality. And I personally love ultra realism as well. So I'm looking closely, making sure that, you know, it's easy to get kind of out of control with shading, where you overshade or you do a shadow that's too big. Kind of just, I want it to look as close to the model I'm using as possible. And as you can see, I'm using natural light. So the shadows are a little bit different than maybe if I was using like a lamp or something, or if I was in more of a shaded area. So I want it to look as real as possible. So I'm looking very closely at my model. Okay, so I personally think the bottom kind of the pot was the most challenging part to shade to make it look realistic, because that's really easy to make it look fake. So like right now I'm working on kind of blending it in such a way that it looks like it's naturally kind of how the sides kind of blend into the bottom, because that's how it looks naturally in that lighting. So I just wanted to look like it's one piece of kind of pottery that's molded. And to do that, I really had to really kind of play with the shading a lot. And as you can see here, I wanted to get kind of the ridged look a little bit that it had without using a pencil, because I wanted to look real and natural. So I'm using the blendy pen, like I did kind of in video 1 with the light bulb, the metallic part, to kind of hint at and suggest that kind of ridge without just using my pencil and drawing it in, which could make it look a little bit more kind of fake. And then, you know, kind of planters, and this is basically kind of a miniature one, they have little kind of holes on the bottom for drainage. So kind of drawing that so it looks real on 3D. So I do it dark, but then portions of it are darker. So looking very closely at the shading. So you might have something that's shaded, right? But within that shaded part, there might be 7 or 8 or 3 or 2 different grades of shadow within that section. And if you can catch every grade of shadow, like in this case, it was maybe like 3 or 4 different grades of shadow in that kind of drainage hole area, which I'm not quite done with that yet. And by capturing that, it ends up looking really, really realistic. And as you can see how I did with the bottom, suggesting kind of how it kind of goes down and becomes flat and ridged, it looks so much more realistic than had I just did lines. I'm going back through, I'm trying to kind of emphasize certain parts of shadow. So you can see right here, see the lines of when I went back through with that pencil and how the blendy pen just smoothed it completely, and see how it looks so much more natural and realistic as a result. Okay, so now I am waiting for the camera to kind of clear up. Okay. And now I am doing the shadow. So, I mean, I could have done this kind of miniature pot planter just floating kind of, but for an added dimension of realism, I'm doing the shadow. So you can tell it's like laying down on a surface. And I feel like that just adds even more realism, even more detail, and really makes it pop more. So as you can see, look at how scratchy that looks. So I'm going over with the blendy pen here. And I apologize, the camera's getting a little bit off center. But as you can see how it's smoothing it out, making it so smooth. And it's also extremely helpful to have a blendy pen when you're doing degrees of shading. So like with a shadow, it's always darker closer to the object and lighter away from it. And a blendy pen can help you really get that detail more smoothly and organically. so it looks real. So as you can see, I'm darkening it closer to the planter in the image. I've got a darker kind of granite pencil. I think that's probably a 6B. And I'm not having to press hard at all because it's just darker. And then I'm going to go over with the Blendy pen and smooth that out. As you can see, I'm doing right here. And I'm almost done with this picture. And whenever you're like sketching, it's not necessarily going to be perfect. So like one of the sketch-alongs I'm going to post, I know one of them I recently did, where I'm not loving the final outcome, but you know what? It's about sketching. So as you can see here, I'm done. It looks pretty good. It's a good sketch. So thank you for joining me.